Hey everyone. Well, the World Cup is over. That was supposed to be the intro. The plan was to upload this a day or two after the final. Then I got sick and everything went off the rails. And here we are, about a week later. Well, better late than even later. Anyway, let's get into it. East Tokyo United still plays in Japan's top football league, but their glory days are long gone. They're now one of the league's biggest underdogs, abandoned by sponsors and even many of their own fans. To turn things around, the club brings in a new coach, Takeshi Tatsumi. Years ago, he was one of the club's brightest young players, but he unexpectedly left the team and moved to England to build his coaching career. Now he's back. This time, his job isn't to score goals, it's to rebuild a broken team and make them believe they can compete again. What really makes Giant Killing different is its focus. Instead of following the players, you're seeing the game through the coach's eyes. Rather than flashy special moves or unrealistic matches, the series focuses on tactics, psychology, and teamwork. It's all about finding ways to beat opponents who look much stronger on paper.
よかった。負けて当然と思われてる。ってことは、うちにとっちゃ最高の環境だ。だってここにいる監督たち。うちとやるときプレッシャーかかるよ。したら赤っ端だ。その点うちは失うものは何もない。
If the previous anime was all about the coach, tactics, and teamwork, here ego comes first. Here, being a great player isn't enough. You have to become the one who outshines everyone else. After Japan's disappointing performance on the world stage, the country's football association launches a unique project called Blue Lock. Its goal is to create the striker capable of leading Japan to victory at the highest level. 300 young forwards from across the country are locked inside a massive training facility where they have to survive a series of brutal challenges. Every match becomes a battle to stay in the program because a single defeat can bring their dream of becoming a professional footballer to an end. Among them is Yoichi Isagi, who enters Blue Lock after making what seemed like the right pass, one that ultimately cost his team the match. Now he has to question everything he believed about football and decide whether winning means trusting the team or becoming the striker who's willing to take the final shot himself.
革命的なストライカーの誕生です。俺はこの300人の中から世界一のストライカーを作る実験をする。これがそのための施設、ブルーロック。
Is also one of the longest anime on this list, with over 170 episodes, and it's still not finished. Eijun Sawamura is a talented but still very raw pitcher who spent his whole life playing baseball with his hometown friends. That all changes when a scout from Seido, one of Japan's strongest high-school baseball programs, notices his potential. Once he joins the team, Sawamura quickly realizes that raw talent can only take him so far. Everyone is fighting for a spot in the starting lineup, and the competition inside the team is just as intense as the games themselves. It doesn't help that he's surrounded by some of the country's best young players, all chasing the same goal. More than anything, Ace of Diamond is about earning your place. No one is handed a starting position, and every player has to prove day after day that they deserve to wear the team's uniform.
じゃあお前一人で野球やるつもりか？お前がどんな野球やってきたのか知らねえけどよ。最高のピッチングってのは
Hanamichi Sakuragi is your typical high-school delinquent who doesn't know the first thing about basketball. After getting rejected by yet another girl, he meets Haruko Akagi, who notices his height and encourages him to join the school's basketball team. At first, Sakuragi joins only because he wants to impress Haruko. Basketball couldn't matter less to him, and he barely even knows the rules. But the more time he spends on the court, the more he starts loving the game. Before long, playing basketball means more to him than impressing anyone. At its core, slam dunk is about growing up. Over time, he grows from an ordinary troublemaker into someone who's willing to work hard, push himself, and do everything he can for his team.
ゴールが壊れるんじゃないかというほど激しく叩き込むのをスラムダンクっていうの。
真ん中に
In Kuroko's basketball, real basketball skills are taken a few steps further than usual. Because of that, every elite player develops a unique style that sets them apart from everyone else. Tetsuya Kuroko is the former Phantom Sixth Man of the legendary Generation of Miracles, a middle school team that was considered the strongest in Japan because every player had something that made them stand out. After graduation, each member joins a different high school, with the goal of facing one another again as rivals. Kuroko enrolls at Seirin High, where he meets Taiga Kagami, a talented player who dreams of becoming the best in Japan. Together, they decide to challenge Kuroko's former teammates and prove that teamwork can beat even the strongest players. Kuroko's basketball stands out because of that contrast. The matches are fast, intense, and larger than life, but at its core, it's about a player who wins not by standing in the spotlight, but by making everyone around him stronger.
そいつら全員ぶっ倒して日本一になってやる。
一人では無理です。僕も決めました。僕は影だ。でも影は光が強いほど濃くなり、光の白さを際立たせる。
Sakamichi Onoda is an ordinary high school student and a huge anime fan who rides his old bicycle across town every single day without realizing that he's been building incredible endurance the whole time. When he starts high school, the only thing he wants is to join the school's anime club. But things don't go as planned. Members of the school's cycling team notice his natural talent and realize that years of riding have turned him into a surprisingly strong cyclist. Before long, Onoda discovers the world of competitive road racing, where winning isn't just about speed, it's about teamwork, strategy, endurance, and never giving up before the finish line. Yowamushi Pedal follows someone who never planned on becoming an athlete. Little by little, riding stops being just a hobby and becomes something he truly loves. Even after all that, he's still the same anime-loving kid at heart.
自転車は根性ねえと続かない。怪我もするし金もかかるしな。まあ、おめえのことはおめえで決めていいよ。お前はお前の道を行け。
Haikyuu Kiyose is a former long-distance runner whose dream was cut short by an injury. But instead of giving up, he sets himself an almost impossible goal, leading his university team to the Hakone Ekiden, one of Japan's most prestigious long-distance relay races where only the best university teams in Japan make it each year. There's just one problem. He doesn't actually have a team. So Haikyuu begins recruiting the residents of his dorm, most of whom have never been serious about running and some who have no interest in it at all. Even Kakeru Kurahara, a naturally gifted runner who unexpectedly ends up living in the dorm, has no desire to join Haikyuu's plan, but little by little, Haikyuu helps each of them find their own reason to run. Run with the Wind is really about 10 completely different people slowly becoming a team while chasing a dream that once seemed impossible.
この10人で頂点を目指そう。誰でも一度ぐらいは目にしたことがあるだろ。正月雑煮を食いながら。出よう。みんなで箱根駅伝に。
Ashita no Joe is one of the most influential sports anime ever made. Many sports anime that came later were inspired by it. Joe Yabuki is a hot-headed drifter who spends his days getting into street fights and living one day at a time. Everything changes when Danpei Tanga, a former boxing coach, notices Joe's incredible talent and becomes determined to turn him into a champion. At first, Joe couldn't care less about boxing. To him, it's nothing more than another way to fight, and he constantly rejects Danpei's attempts to train him. But everything changes after he meets Rikishi. For the first time, Joe realizes that raw talent alone isn't enough. Real victories take technique, discipline, and the drive to keep improving. Ashita no Joe isn't just about boxing. It's about a young man who finally finds something worth fighting for.
いいぞ。おめえなかなかいいバネしてるな、おい。どうだよ、俺と一緒に組まねえか。俺と一緒にボクシングやる気ねえか。
Hajime no Ippo is one of the most famous sports anime inspired by Ashita no Joe. Ippo Makunuchi is a shy high school student who's been bullied for most of his life. Everything changes after a chance encounter with professional boxer Mamoru Takamura, who rescues him from another beating and introduces him to the world of boxing for the very first time. Wanting to find out what it really means to be strong, Ippo begins training at the Kamogawa boxing gym. He soon realizes that determination alone isn't enough. Every new opponent pushes him to improve, master new techniques, and go beyond his own limits. Little by little, Ippo grows stronger with every fight. Nothing comes easy, and every victory has to be earned through hard work, discipline, and endless training.
真剣に考えたんです。本気でボクシングやろうって決心したんです。僕も強くなりたい。高村さんみたいに生まれ変わりたいんです。
Shoyo Hinata has dreamed of playing volleyball ever since he was a kid, despite being much shorter than most players. Inspired by the legendary Little Giant, he enrolls at Karasuno High, where he unexpectedly ends up on the same team as his former rival, the brilliant setter Tobio Kageyama. At first they struggle to work together. Hinata relies on instinct and endless energy, while Kageyama demands precision and perfection. As they keep playing together, they learn to trust each other, and their partnership becomes one of Karasuno's greatest strengths. Together with the rest of the team, they fight to bring Karasuno back to the top and compete with the best volleyball teams in Japan once again. Haikyuu shows why volleyball is so exciting. Every point depends on trust, timing, and teamwork, which is why every victory feels earned and every match keeps you invested until the final rally.
目の前に立ちはだかる高い高い壁。その向こうはどんな眺めだろうか。どんな風に見えるのだろうか。頂の景色。俺一人では決して見ることのできない景色。でも一人ではないのなら。
Well, that wraps up the list. I wasn't trying to rank these anime from best to worst. The goal was simply to show just how diverse sports anime can be. Some are all about teamwork. Others focus on rivalry, strategy, or simply finding the motivation to keep moving forward. Hopefully you found something new to add to your watch list. There are still plenty of great sports anime I couldn't fit into this video. So if you'd like to see a part 2, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.